So self-checkouts, right? We've used those a time or two. I would have to assume that you guys use them whenever you can. Um, Today I had to go to Food Basics, right, to get some pop for what I was going to do for my dinner, which was a burger and or sausage and fries. And of
Okay.
course, you got to have pop to drink with that, right? Because pop just goes hand in hand with French fries.
Right.
So I grab my pop, go to the self checkout because I only have the one item, and I've used self checkout as at least 1 to 5 items, and you're good. What
Okay.
really annoys me is when I go to the self checkout, and there's a guy with a full cart, $300 in groceries. Have you guys had this happen to you before at all?
I have had it happen to the point where I'm standing there with my one item and having to wait, 5 minutes for other people in the self checkout because they're checking out an entire cart full of groceries. And I mean, yeah, it gets annoying. I'm not generally a fan of self checkout or using self checkout. I would rather go to somebody.
Yeah,
But you know,
I'm the same way. Like if I have like at least, like I said, more than five, or if I have like 5 to 10 items, then yes, I will go talk to a checkout to a cashier and get my things rung up. But I was in a hurry at this time. I was hungry, and it wasn't just one person that was there. It was all the checkouts were filled with people with $200 to $300 in groceries. And I'm like, screw this. I'm gonna go to the cashier at Cash One because I know the lady there and I know how fast she works.
right.
And I got out faster than those people did still.
Yeah, no, I absolutely despise self-checkout. So at any possible opportunity, I will go to the cashier. I will only use self-checkout if I'm at like Dollarama because they don't keep anybody on cash.
Yeah.
But
again, like that's a store though, again, where you buy like 4 or 5 items, correct?
Yeah. So. I mean, I've lost almost my entire lunch break a couple of times though at Metro because the cashiers are too busy because they've got carts of $200 to $300 worth, and the self-checkout issue is the same thing. Thankfully, with the Metro right across from work, my upstairs neighbor is also the floor manager.
Right.
So I get that taken care of at customer service rather quickly.
And what's, unfortunate in these situations is that the self-checkout, now I know people say, no, it really doesn't, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you know what? Like when they've got self-checkout open with one cashier working the self-checkout, they've only got one other or two other cashiers working and open. Well, okay, so now you're just defeating the purpose because you technically don't have, another 3 or 4 cashiers open. You've got people trying to fumble through and do it themselves, and that just kind of causes some issue as well. So if you were just to open up 4 or 5 cashiers, you would be able to get these people going through a lot quicker.
And that's just the thing. There were 4 other caches open at Basics because I went at the rush hour time when there are more tills open. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Chris Parrish is here with us. He's like, hey, it's Carl and Best and someone with a bad hairline as per Lisa. I think after the show, I may have to find out a little bit more about who this Lisa is that you guys kind of started telling me about before we came on. Bulkster, it is so good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for being here. With that, I think it's about time that we make it showtime. So the shoot job had me working a day shift today, which is a little different. I've been doing generally at the new job the swing shift or the afternoon into the evening shift. So I didn't prepare a lot. I do have a couple of news items that I think I'd like to touch on, but I know, Chris, you have pulled together a number of different items for us. And OMD, I'm not sure if you have anything specific outside of the parameters of the stories that have already been brought, but if you do, we can definitely fit that in.
Sure.
As well.
I really don't have anything. There's something that I sort of found interesting, but I'm really not understanding it right now. So I'd like to get a little more clarification and read the article before we really get into touching on that.
Okay, perfect. Make sure you send that over to us so that we can look at it and maybe help with that clarification for you. I think Mr. Chris Best is going to be able to clarify which articles he pulled for us this week, though.
Yeah, and actually, this is one that kind of caught me off guard because I didn't expect this to happen so soon.
Mm-hmm.
But Dijak is already accepting bookings. I thought that's what I was wondering is how, because I know we're not even a month from his release, give or take. We might be a week or so past his first month, but he's taking a booking as of this Thursday. He's going to be doing some indie wrestling shows, and I thought he still had a main roster deal when he was in NXT, but maybe he doesn't, because the main roster deal, right, when you get released, it's 90 days before you can compete. But if you're in NXT, it's 30 days.
Yes.
Correct. 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you go back and you look at the situation they had with Cesaro, where they could not come to terms on a new agreement, but he worked out the entirety of his contract, those no compete clauses do not exist.
Well, I think for a lot of that, it's extenuating circumstances, right? So that's probably something that he had to go to management and say, hey, listen, I will work the rest of the dates that you have available for me, but in return, this is something that I would like.
Right. Yeah. Still gets me because even this past weekend, he shows up, he went to an independent show and had a very profanity-laden promo against WWE, and it's kind of making me think, is he now becoming Cryjack as opposed to Dijak?
I don't think so. I think, honestly, this is just not necessarily him, complaining or like becoming a Cryjack type of situation. I think what it is that he's now able to let go and vent those frustrations, and that this is probably a one-off type of situation where he's gotten it out there. It's out of his system. He's good, and he's going to be, looking forward in his career as a professional wrestler when he's, making his way to Roseland and, stuff like that. Right. So,
right.
Yes. I'm going to ask this though, do we see this maybe as, I don't want to use a negotiating tactic, but could we see this as a situation like they're doing in NXT with Ben Buchanan, or Brooks Jensen as he was known, having him go to these independent shows, all of that, and doing it that same type of way? Like they've had Brooks Jensen thrown out of NXT, but he's gone to other shows citing that he is a free agent, able to take these bookings.
I don't know.
I think he's completely done. He had gone forward and said that WWE did not try to renegotiate a deal, which that's another thing I don't quite understand, because why would you get called to the main roster if WWE wasn't going to try to negotiate with you?
Right.
That's just something isn't adding up as far as Dijak's departure goes. But I am glad that he is continuing to take these bookings elsewhere. getting that seasoning, as I've always said, with going around to various independent promotions, even going as far as showing up backstage at AEW Forbidden Door on Sunday.
Right. And like as a free agent, you have those luxuries to be able to go wherever you want, do whatever you want to do, and get your feet wet, so to speak, within different companies and organizations. And I mean, the world of professional wrestling, right? Like, I have friends that, are former WWE wrestlers. I have friends that, have worked with NXT. I have friends that, work with AEW. I have friends that work with, MLW, friends that work with OVW. And everybody has those friendships within the business. So it's not maybe necessarily a, hey, I was there to talk business, but it may even just be a situation of, hey, I have the option to go and support my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
And be allowed to be backstage because of who I am.
Right. I mean, we've seen it with Ricky Starks showing up at the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago and WrestleMania this year.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
we saw it with Bailey and Sasha at TNA for Trinity Naomi's last match.
Yeah.
And
those options are there, right? Especially if you're outside of a WWE contract.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna put it out there right now because we got SmackDown and Money in the Bank heading to Toronto this week. I can guarantee you, and I know that he does this, Jimmy Corderas is going to show up backstage and visit with friends.
Absolutely, he will.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at, and I'm going to bring this up because this is not the same, but we've got this crossover now, and we've got more crossover between other companies as well as NXT and WWE again. With the Creed brothers and Shayna Baszler once again attending Bloodsport.
Right.
We've got the No Quarter Catch crew are now going back and forth with TNA.
Yes, they are.
So, I'm loving this openness. So is there going to be a potential for a Dijak reunion down the road? I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Yeah, because right now he's, again, as Carl had said, he's just venting his frustrations. I'm sure he actually doesn't hold any ill will to the guys in WWE, unlike another release that I saw a video of today, that being the Bumps Matt Camp. He had a lot of negative things to say about his time in WWE.
You'll have to send that to me. I haven't seen that. I think I'd like to take a look at it.
I will send it to you, but the first line he says in that thing is he says the WWE always says they're family. That's bullshit. Those were his words.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I will definitely give that a listen as well. But yeah, I mean, Dijak leaving the WWE, not re-signing or even negotiations as it stands for a new contract. We learned that June 28th was his final day under contract with the WWE, and that now he will be debuting at Roseland 9 with Prestige Wrestling and Dreadlock Pro and West Coast Pro, a collaborative show between those three companies called Roseland. That's happening September 29th, 2024.
Yes. However,
okay, so that actually
coming. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, that actually answers my question because he can probably accept bookings but not wrestle in the ring until his 3 months are up. So maybe he does still have a 3-month no compete clause. Maybe.
So yeah, that's what I would believe. OMD, what you got?
Former WWE wrestler Donovan Dijak will return to the ring on the 4th of July for his first match since leaving WWE.
And that cancels my answer.
Dijak will wrestle Aaron Rourke at Beyond Wrestling's American Rana 2024 event in Worcester, Mass. It will be his first match for Beyond Wrestling since 2017.
Okay.
And you know, one thing I'm actually happy about with Dijak is the fact that, yes, he did leave WWE, but he's still continuing to wrestle. I always get disappointed when wrestlers that I enjoy watching on WWE don't go and hone their craft elsewhere. Like, they just completely leave the wrestling business because to them WWE was the be all end all. It disappoints me when they do that.
Yes. Now, there is more. This will be Dijak's first official match since his WWE departure, although he did make the surprise appearance for Blitzkrieg Pro over the weekend.
That's where he cut that promo.
He is also scheduled for future events with Rev Pro and Prestige Wrestling.
Okay. Huh.
I mean, good on him for getting all these bookings right away. I'm jacked. I'm happy about it, you know?
Well, I mean, he can go in like, and don't get me wrong, like, I wasn't big on him his first go in NXT as Donovan Dijakovic. I had been a bigger fan of him in Ring of Honor under the Donovan Dijak name.
Okay.
Of course, the whole Mason T-Bar thing with Retribution. But this new character, the, you know, cross between the Big Boss Man and Nails in one, essentially. I loved it. I loved it. And I'm sure a lot of these companies are also advertising that it is, you know, either the return of this guy who's wrestled for this company before or as former WWE superstar.
Mm-hmm.
So the fans will turn out that, okay, we've got somebody who was just in WWE.
Right. And I think anytime that you put the former WWE or former WCW or anything like that, you're going to get the fans coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the last few CWE shows that you and I were working, Carl.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yep.
Exactly.
2 shows in a row, we had to fill the seat. We had to throw down more seats because people were coming in.
We did.
Wow.
It was absolutely insane. It was great.
Yeah.
So insane in a good way.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Unlike some footage that came out that is insane in a bad way for AEW. Some footage came out, and I don't know if you guys saw this, about the terrible state of their merchandise stand at Forbidden Door.
I did not see that.
No.
Okay. So in the footage, the merchandise stand had a lot of frustration surrounding it. They had the worst merchandise selection that this person has ever seen for a second time in a row. There were only AEW branded shirts available, with the only wrestler specific shirt being the LIJ shirt. All the shirts were priced at $50.
Are you flipping kidding me?
$50. They also noted that the tag belts, the replica belts, were priced at $1,000. And now you got to remember, we're talking, for us Canadians, American. $1,000 American.
Now, those are like the replicas, like what you've got hanging behind you, kind of replicas, right?
Right.
Not like the foam championships that we got as kids.
Correct. Yes, they are the official replicas. So $1,000 for
Jesus.
the tag team. So even though we just had MJF return, there were no MJF shirts. There were no Swerve Strickland shirts, Osprey shirts. There was no Blackpool Combat Club shirts. like no New Japan wrestler shirts. There was nothing there. Hoodies were priced at $75. And you know, like it's insane. You know, Forbidden Door is one of the biggest pay-per-views, especially between the collaboration that you know, like it's insane. The collaboration, it's something that's, you know, was almost unheard of before, unless it was like territory days,
Right.
but they had nothing but AEW branding for merchandise and overpriced merchandise.
Like $50 for a friggin' shirt. I'm sorry, but the last WWE show, and I know that the deals are they never change the price on their shirts. WWE shirts go for $25.
Yep.
And holy, and $1,000. If I'm paying $1,000 for an AEW tag team belt, you better be giving me both tag team championships for that cost.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those that don't know what LIJ is, they had Los Ingobernables de Upan, is a faction from New Japan. That is the only real branding.
Okay, I would buy that shirt because Evil is in that stable. Just gonna
right,
put
of
that
course.
out there.
yeah, of course. But then you had like the very typical, like, I was there or I was at, you know, this event or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It was. I'll have to send you guys the article here so that you guys can scroll and actually see the video that was posted onto TikTok. It's a very, very sad state when it comes to the merchandise, especially for such a huge event.
And when you're coming out, and I actually watched the entire pay-per-view on the weekend. It wasn't great. But it was something to watch. It kept me entertained for a few hours Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Decent crowd, and they're citing that it was $1 million gate that they had. But how can you charge that much? I mean, yes, we pay $40 for a shirt from our favorite bands when we go to see them live or from a festival. I've got no issue paying that.
Right.
$30 for a hat, as Chris alluded to, you know, $25 for a wrestling t-shirt. That would be, I believe, American. So if we're paying in Canada, it's about 40. Still.
No, it's 25 here too. They don't change the exchange rate on wrestling shirts here.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So how do you get away? Like, you wonder why you have such a bad reputation. I mean, your in-ring product needs work. But when you're going to rip off the people who are already paying these exorbitant prices for your tickets, I know you and I looked at going to an AEW show a couple of years ago, and the cheapest ticket we could find was, I think, $85 in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And that was at the Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto. That wasn't even Scotiabank.
And again, when WWE runs the Coca-Cola place, I've seen the nosebleed tickets go for $19.
Right. Right. So we're talking merchandise. Let's move from AEW to what the WWE is doing for merchandise this coming weekend in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as Money in the Bank makes its way to Toronto. They have opened up and they are bringing, I'm just going to read what the WWE put out. It said, "Get ready, Canada, to shop the official WWE Money in the Bank store located at the Rec Room in Toronto. Shop the largest collection of WWE Money in the Bank merchandise under one roof when the WWE Money in the Bank store comes to Toronto. This is your chance to get your hands on exclusive merchandise, including replica championship titles, superstar apparel, signed memorabilia, collectibles, mini titles, and so much more. They're having it go for 4 days. Thursday, 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Friday, 10 a.m. till midnight. Saturday, 10 a.m. till midnight. And Sunday, 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. That's how you sell merchandise.
Right?
Yep. And there's a part of me that's hoping that they take over the little Toronto Maple Leaf store that's at Gate 1 in the Scotiabank Arena, because that's actually a pretty big location for just one team.
Right.
And Carl, you tempted me right now, because I know that there's going to be online deals coming from that same store. I get paid this week.
I'm sure there very well will be. But yeah,
when you said signed memorabilia, I'm like, okay, I gotta see what they got.
Right. And okay, so Money in the Bank isn't even a big four for the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pulling this out for merchandise. Like, are you serious?
Right. That's a WrestleMania shop, because it's an international PLE. I know we've talked about the big four and how we'd like to see it go back or reduce the number of PLEs, but this has to now be one of the big six.
Mm-hmm.
So I can absolutely understand that. And especially with, the whole weekend with SmackDown, with Money in the Bank, with Heat Wave.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for
sure. You're going to get your money's worth.
Which, programming note, this Saturday, we will be doing a PLE patrol for Money in the Bank.
Awesome. Sounds good. Where are we going to do that? On Studios and anywhere else?
Right here on Turnbuckle Studios.
Perfect. So we'll see what we can do to get some promo put out for that for sure as well. Chris, I just, before you continue on with your couple of topics, to tie into Money in the Bank, I've got another topic that I found really, really interesting. So, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is currently what?
He's our Intercontinental Champion.
He is our Intercontinental Champion. That's correct. Who has he had a feud with in the past? Celebrity-wise.
I know exactly where you're going with this, because I have read the article. And his old pal and rival, one Johnny Knoxville, was boarding a flight to go to Toronto.
Did you see anything about that, Chris?
I did. I actually saw a video where Knoxville talked about it. And he mentioned it like in passing. Like, he said it was a possibility he was going to do it. And then I'm like, well, with Knoxville, nothing is a possibility with him.
But let's not forget, Sami Zayn also has his Sami Zayn and Friends Do Toronto comedy show.
Yes.
So is that why Johnny Knoxville's heading there? And that I'm leaning towards. Now, from what I've heard, though, the prices for that show are outrageous.
Comedy shows in Toronto, ticket prices are always out there. So
they usually are.
It's $175 for the ticket for VIP with meet and greet with Sammy.
That's actually worth it.
And a photo.
That's actually worth it to me.
Right. So back to this section of things. Yeah. Johnny Knoxville may attend in some capacity Money in the Bank or the Sammy and Friends Do Toronto show. Are you guys okay with Johnny Knoxville being incorporated into the WWE programming, because the Sami Zayn and Friends do Toronto is technically a WWE produced and ran event.
I actually am okay with this because here's a celebrity who actually respects the wrestling business. And I'll always say that if there's a celebrity that's going to be involved who may have not been involved in the wrestling business before, I got to know if they have respect for that business.
Right.
And so far, Knoxville has, Bad Bunny has, Lawrence Taylor has, Cyndi Lauper, of course she has.
Yep.
And then you get the ones that don't, like Snooki, for instance.
Right.
So I am happy to see Knoxville on WWE TV again. I really don't mind it.
I'm okay with it if, yes, he's doing the Sami Zayn and Friends do Toronto. I'm okay if they show him on camera in the crowd, whether he's there to cheer or boo Sami Zayn just to play off of that history and that old rivalry. I do not want to see him get involved in the match because we know that more than likely, if he does, he's the one taking the spear from Braun Breaker.
Right.
It would produce so much heat on Braun Breaker, though, if Knoxville was the one to take the spear.
It would, but I don't care. Like, I don't mind seeing him in the crowd as, a fan and a friend. Even having a backstage interaction with Sammy, I'm okay with. But leave him out of the ring. Leave him out of the match.
Okay. I can respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So there you go, people. Keep a close eye, because you never know when a Hollywood celebrity of sorts may make their way onto WWE programming somehow, some way. Chris, what else have you got for us today?
I have a really cool piece of news that that came across my desk this afternoon. As we all know, Temple, Texas, the state of Texas, just got slammed with a pile of tornadoes back in May. Just nonstop. Well, the world of professional wrestling is coming to Temple as 360 Pro Wrestling is putting on a free show that is going to help pay for these people who have lost their homes and everything like that. They're putting on a free wrestling show. Donations are accepted, food donations, cash donations, whatever you can. I think this is just the coolest friggin' thing ever. We always see the negative side of wrestling in the media, the steroid scandals and all that kind of thing. But seeing stuff like this makes me proud to be a part of the wrestling business.
For sure.
Absolutely.
What do you guys make of this?
Well, this isn't the first time that they've worked with the United Way of Central Texas.
Yes, that's who they're doing the show with.
Yeah, which is absolutely fantastic. Like, they've worked with them, before a couple of years ago. Great organization to work with, they've said, and they want to be the first to donate to the cause that they're putting on to help rebuild. So they actually gave a check for $500 already. So like that's really cool. Well, that one coming from the owner of Terps Toys and Comics, Matthew Turpening. Like it's absolutely amazing that they are coming together, and they're doing it for the United Way of Central Texas, but they're doing it in collaboration with Terps Toys and Comics.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know we've often looked at, back when we had a local company, you and I discussed the idea of, why don't we get these guys to go out, set up a Relay for Life, the 24-hour, the 12-hour Relay for Life. You don't have to do a full 12-match card. You can because you can do one match an hour.
Yeah, you could.
Raising money for cancer. We've seen shows here where it was, bring a canned good or non-perishable food item and get $5 off your ticket.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're wrestling and it's going to a good cause, charitable cause, I'm great with supporting that.
Yeah.
I would happily be there if I could.
Right.
I've talked to certain previous promoters too about even setting up at Rotary Fest, because Rotary Fest is also a charitable event as well.
Yes.
Of course, I got denied, but whatever.
The effort was there, and you know, we appreciate it, even though this is the first time we're hearing of it, or I'm hearing of it. I appreciate that aspect of it. I appreciate the nobility because it puts our product out there.
Exactly. I'm just, I can't help but smile that there's still good in this world in reading articles like that, you know?
Of course. And I mean, they just, yeah, like there's always going to be people like to think and believe that the world of professional wrestling is such a circus act. And, you know, even the circus makes children smile. Right. So
Yeah.
no matter what, the world of professional wrestling, and especially the fan base of professional wrestling, is such a community of amazing people that yes, they will come together, especially during times like these where there has been travesty that has happened. We all bond together when it comes to these things. Like,
yep. I mean, even take a look at, I can't even remember what year it was, and Roddy Piper was involved in a match. I want to say it was WrestleMania, but I don't think it was. And he was donating the entire purse to the sick kids.
King of the Ring, 1994.
Okay, there you go.
Against Jerry Lawler. Data. It also doesn't help that I watched that show like a month ago. So
true.
But no,
Chris, oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but no, that was awesome of Piper to do that. And it wasn't actually until this year that I realized that it was the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto that he donated that money to. And here's another thing that not a lot of people do know. Jerry Lawler also donated his purse to that as well.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. See, there is good in professional wrestling. Now, I know you have one more piece of news that is a huge piece for us. And I'm not going to say the words just yet, because I have one more piece of news that I found very, very interesting. WWC Puerto Rico and the NWA. It seems as though they may be coming together for some shows, or at least one big show. Brian Idol was talking with Ringside News about the NWA's growth as of late, and that the company is planned for the future, especially with partnerships excluding the territory style that they have continued to try to bring back. Brian Idol mentioned that they have relinked the NWA to WWC Puerto Rico. They've been he claims to have been the conduit for the connection, and they've now established the link. Several NWA personalities have actually participated in an invasion type event in Puerto Rico. And they're really hoping to come together to bring a special show and a pay-per-view event to make it even bigger. So I like the idea of this. The NWA definitely it needs a little bit of assistance. I am still a fan of the NWA. I'm a fan of, what Billy Corgan is trying to do with the NWA and bring it back to a territory type of style. I think that is fantastic, and I'm really wishing him the best of success for that. But to partner up with a company that no one else seems to be partnering with right now, I think is a good idea.
Right. And it's again, it's going to get, whether it's former big names who are wrestling now in the NWA over to the WWC and vice versa, it opens up that new world.
Yeah.
For both companies.
Yeah. Now, okay, so we know the WWC at one time was a member of the NWA, but they got separated under some extremely controversial situations. I'm talking about the death of Bruiser Brody, who was working with WWC at that time. It was run by Carlos Colon at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
I'm happy that they were able to build that bridge and repair that bridge, because let's face it, after that incident, the NWA's relationship with the WWC was extremely sour. Extremely sour. It was bad. But I'm happy. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that we now will have more access to to wrestling out of Cuba and Puerto Rico. Because now we've got Savio Vega's IWA, which is now you can catch shows of that on YouTube. WWC now trying to come into the North American or the American market. I'm happy for that, because the WWC, when they were under the NWA banner, actually did put on some really cool shows.
Yeah, they definitely did. And it's glorious that this partnership is coming back together, that this collaboration between the two is coming back together. A beautiful working relationship between the two companies coming back, and underneath, the hands of different people, which I think is great as well. This now allows for new relationships to be built, and hopefully lasting relationships to be built as well when it comes from this.
Right. And I want to touch on another collaboration as well. We just saw it this past weekend with Forbidden Door, and it's going to be coming back in January with AEW / Ring of Honor teaming up with New Japan Pro as well as CMLL in Tokyo.
Okay.
For Wrestle Dynasty.
Interesting.
I believe it's coming up right around the same time as Wrestle Kingdom early in the new year in January.
Well, Wrestle Kingdom always happens January 4th, so
right. So it may be a little after that, or maybe a little before.
I'm intrigued. I might check that out, because it seems like it's going to be a New Japan dominant show, being that they're going to be in Japan on New Japan's territory.
Yes, and this is going to be, I believe, the first time that AEW has gone over to do a show there. Same with Ring of Honor.
I was going to say, I think you might be wrong, but they actually just lent their guys over there. So
I'm wondering, do we see that as just a series of triple threat matches, or do we see, a CMLL take on New Japan for one of the titles?
That is something that we have seen in the past. CMLL and New Japan have had a working deal.
Yeah.
In the past. I'm not sure if they still have that deal or not, but.
Well, I think they did, because we just saw Steph Vacour lose from CMLL, lose the New Japan Strong Women's Championship on Sunday.
Yeah, and here's the difference between New Japan's relationship with CMLL versus AEW's relationship with CMLL. New Japan actually tells you who the stars are from CMLL and gives you a little bit of a backstory. AEW still has yet to do that for me.
Right.
Yeah. It's very true. Very true. There are lots of stories that are being told in the world of professional wrestling. But on SmackDown, wow, that seems to be a showstopper.
On his feet. Oh my God in heaven!
Our showstopper segment this week brought to you by Mr. Chris Best. If you're watching the video, the graphic on your screen right now kind of says it all. Yes. Chris, what are we talking about?
SmackDown being censored in the US, because we didn't see it here in Canada, being censored in the US. There was a lot of backstage frustration over this. Fox censored a lot of things. They censored out the fans chanting. They censored out, and this is one censorship I do understand doing. But when Nia Jax was making her way to the ring for her segment or her match, fans were flipping her off. And I understand censoring that. That's understandable. But they got a little too egregious by censoring fan chants and everything like that. I'm trying to get to the article. My phone's being a little bit slow here. But there was just a lot of frustration. Okay, so SRS, not going to mention his full name because, screw
Everybody
him.
knows who that is anyways.
Yeah. He reported there was frustration from several WWE sources that they heard from over the heavy censorship and editing. There was a lot of editing out of things too on SmackDown.
Yeah.
During the broadcast, a longtime WWE star who wasn't on the show noticed Fightful's tweet about being excited for SmackDown and moving to USA. USA actually has a lot. I'm gonna have to assume that USA now has a lot lighter, as far as censorship goes. But what really bugs me about this is it was Fox, of all people, of all channels, Fox censoring WWE. This is the same channel that had controversial shows like Married with Children, The Simpsons, Family Guy, shows that push the envelope. Why are you censoring WWE?
See, I don't have an answer for that. The one chant that, I'm not going to say, but it was something about the Pacers. I can understand that one for sure.
That's the other one I understand too, but there was a lot of other ones that I didn't get.
Yes,
there was. And I think that in this instance, it was just Fox trying to save face for Fox at the time. And going, well, we don't know exactly what they're saying, because sometimes when you're listening to those chants, if you're just listening to it through headphones in a production, it can sometimes be a little bit muffled and you're still not sure. Mm-hmm. So if you're not sure, censor it, is probably what they were told. If you don't understand what they're saying, edit or censor, right?
Yeah. Apparently there was also a wardrobe malfunction.
I didn't hear anything about that.
I didn't hear nothing about that either.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I heard about the chant and the flip off, and it was one fan flipping off Nia Jax from what I read.
Yeah,
but then it's like all of a sudden it's like they go to black, and all of a sudden then Bianca Belair just materializes, and that was literally their words.
Yeah, and again, like OMD and I didn't get that watching it on Sportsnet. But the simple thing to do with that is if you see a fan flipping on, just cut to a long shot of the crowd.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are more than enough cameras there that they could just push that button to go to camera 6 instead of camera 2 that they're on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if, because Disney owns Fox, we know that Disney now has the rights to the shows like Simpsons, Family Guy. Could Disney have had something to do with it?
Okay, I'm going to correct you on this one, because Fox TV stations are completely different from 20th Century Fox. Disney owns 20th Century Fox. The Fox TV networks are all independently owned stations. They are not owned by Disney at all.
Truth.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I've looked heavily into that as well, and I had to make sure.
Right.
Because especially when we were looking at years ago, or a couple of years ago, with the sale of the WWE, and who possibly could buy, that was one of the big things that I was researching and looking out for, was Fox and Disney. And yeah, came to find out that independently owned television stations, but 21st Century Fox. Yeah.
So those Fox stations, they have the contract with 20th Century Fox to air their shows, but those shows can again go anywhere, as we've seen. To use an example, American Dad, that's a 20th Century Fox show. It airs on TBS.
Yes,
right.
Work.
Right.
But no, like this kind of made me think, like, because I actually went back and watched what was censored, because again, up here in Canada, it wasn't censored as much.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of reminded me of that last Raw that aired on the USA Network or Spike TV before they went back to the USA Network. Do you guys remember watching that Raw and how heavily censored it became? And then WWE got word of it, and then they're like, just hammer home, we're going to the USA Network in that last hour to JR, and JR, like every 10 words he was saying USA Network, and just really had those censors going.
Oh yeah.
I can vaguely remember that episode, but I believe I was watching it on TSN at that point.
I think I was too, because that was also the last year for TSN, because they were getting ready to go to the Score.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's right as well.
Yeah. Kind of makes me excited now that we're getting all of the stuff on Netflix, and now we won't get the stupid looking censors, you know?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally understandable. Totally understandable. We try to only censor one thing on this show. That's it. That's my only request, is the one censor. Everything else is usually pretty fair game.
Yeah, and I'd like to apologize for swearing earlier, but I was just quoting what Matt Camp had said earlier, because I'm trying to watch my mouth on that.
You didn't say that one bad word. That's
yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So that is okay. That is okay. We can say ass, bitch, shit, those things, but you all know the one word.
I'm known to drop an F-bomb my time or two.
Or 12.
Yeah, or 12. Or
that's
12.
I chalk that up to my time in the military, if I'm being honest.
There are other times on other shows that we have on this network where the language is a little bit more extreme. And you know what? If you're looking for something a little bit like that, well, take a look at this and see when you can see those other shows. And as we close out the program this evening, Chris Best, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me at youtube.com at CBRS Entertainment, twitch.tv CBRS_entertainment, threads.net at CBestFilms83, facebook.com Chris.best83, tiktok.com at CBRS.entertainment.
OMD, where can the people find you? He's all muted up still, so I will give mine before we let him take that final spot. Mine is simple and easy. It's a link tree, linktr.ee/Carl Carafel. That is linktr.ee/KARLKARUFEL. OMD is still having some issues over there on his end, so I'm going to go through his then. You can find him on Facebook at Daniel Harycyk, HRYCYK is the last name. On Snapchat at One Man Dynamic, capitals on the O, the M, and the D. On Twitch at OMD17 and on Discord at OMD6370. Make sure you're following us on Good Pods as well. You can listen back to all of the different shows and programs for Turnbuckle Talk over on Good Pods. You can search it by going to goodpods.com/podcast/turnbuckle-talk-264524. Make sure that you are leaving us a rating as we do continue to get bumped up in the slots. We are sitting about between 5th and 3rd over the last little while. We did dip down for a little bit, so make sure that you're going over there and leaving us a rating. The more that you do that, the more that it pushes us up and allows other people to hear these programs.
And now my audio issues come to an end.
For Chris Best, for OMD, and myself, Carl Carafel. Remember, everyone, the world's a scary place. Take care of each other.